Some games immerse themselves in their material, and Force Showdown is no exception. The game is about heroes fighting in an arena while others watch, and the game centers itself around the spectacle of the fight. In fact, the price of the game was based off viewers watching players on Twitch, who can interact with each other and even earn game content. But is this game that officially releases on March 29th, 2016 more than flash and fancy prizes? Will the game deliver for the price of $20, or will players find whammies hidden around every corner, ready to ambush their fun? That's what I'm here to answer, but before I begin, this key was obtained from the developer for review purposes. That won't change my opinion of the game in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Here's the basics of Force Showdown. You choose a champion in the challenge, along with a hero, a companion, and a deck. There's 4 heroes in total, ranging from the prototypical archer to the melee powerhouse, and each of them have a unique set of skills and playstyle that they bring to the arena. Your goal is to fight your way to the main boss of a level and knock him off to become the champion. But the game isn't going to make it easy on you, as there's gates with guardians to protect the champ. To unlock the gate, you must go through 2 series of 4 to 9 battles that have random modifiers on it, followed by an end boss. At the start of each arena round, you're given cards via your deck that you can buy via mana, which replenishes and generally increases by 1 after every round. Now these cards are divided into 3 categories: upgrades, which improve your direct skills and abilities of your heroes, spells, which summon creatures or may heal you temporarily, or consumables that you can bring into battle to get you out of desperate situations. Now be aware, the opposite guardian also will play cards as well to help himself out. Now when it comes to the action gameplay, it's your typical simplified action RPG setting. Slap things around with your weapon to deal damage. Throw a hero ability out to deal with crowds. Press R to contemplate your existence in the world. You know, the usual. Now each of the characters have their own playstyle. For example, Stormbringer's long distance, keep away from me, you've got smallpox kinda game style, to the combo-based style of Ravager, who racks up attacks to unleash his skill base to deal massive damage across the map. Now I liked playing as all 4 of them, as they felt reasonably different and focused on different strengths and weaknesses. Despite being the best at the Archer, I had the most fun with the Hammer Time Volko. Control-wise, the game holds up just fine. It's not complicated. Aim with the mouse, WASD to move with your character, and basic hotkeys and mouse buttons for skills. Now controller-wise, it is playable, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially with characters like the Archer, who will lean on rounding corners and absolute precision that only the mouse can truly give. Now the game will throw a lot at you at times, and there is a good mix-up of enemies here, with untraditional enemies and some alternate mechanics. Having little buggies drive around, swinging around lasers with centrifugal force? Check. Boss enemies that throw out their weak point only after hitting a wall? Check. An enemy specifically designed that if you kill it, you take damage? Check. The game doesn't go cookie cutter on its enemies, and I really do appreciate that in the action RPG genre. The game's arenas and enemy layout is procedurally generated, but generally hit a theme for each series of battles that you'll have to go through. Now the procedural generation is alright, as it varies from wide open spaces to very tight corridors. It's complemented by the cards that the Guardian will play, which can really screw with you, like having mines that home in on your position. Needless to say, this can cause a bit of chaos, and chaos in a game like this? Well, that's a good thing. Now I will say that the game's card system is a bit interesting. Now there are typical boosts that you'd see in other games, like adding 45% damage to your attack. But there's also some skill-specific ones here that really change up the gameplay as well, like adding fireballs to Volko's spinning attack, or giving Ravager more frenzy marks to work with. Now there's apparently a lot of cards here, as you can buy them with the coins that you earn in-game, and they can lead to a good amount of variation of what your skills and strengths of your character have. At the time of recording, I've only unlocked about 33% of the cards in total, so needless to say, there's a lot to work with here. With that said, certain skills don't feel appropriate to their mana cost. For example, the fire aura you can put on Volko, it can interrupt enemies, and while it only lasts a bit of time at the start of an arena battle, it's massively overpowered at its mana cost, and most enemies really can't get in damage with it out. There's some balance to really work with here, and I do need that some cards need nerfs in certain cases, because they feel just plain broken. This card system has a lot of strengths, but what's weird here is that it doesn't necessarily change how you play the heroes at their most basic level. Now yes, focusing on a Volko who only hits hard with his hammer, for example, is a possibility. But here's the thing, it doesn't take any of his other strengths away in the process. It's not like you can't spam the hammer like a nightclub in the 1990s. I'm referring to MC Hammer. Yes, topical, I know. Where your variation of playstyle will come from has to do with your opponent's cards. Working through a specific scenario can take a while, and tragedy can strike at any moment. One of the game's strengths is that you've always got to be on your toes, as one set of cards on the opposite side of the field can ruin your run faster than bringing up politics at a family gathering. That may seem unfair at first, and there are most definitely times that the game stacks the deck against you. But on the flip side, it never feels too unfair. If you take your time and actually read what the cards have to say, you'll be well aware of how to deal with what's coming. Enemies going to hit for a shit ton of damage? Fine, I'll stay back and focus on ranged attacks. I'm losing health at every second? Shit, better be ultra aggressive. There's a bit of reading you'll need to do in this game, and it isn't forced, so keep that in mind before charging wildly into battle. But there are some slights here when it comes to the main gameplay. There's a weird terminology the game uses, dealing with each battle round, arena round, competition round. It can get a little bit confusing. You'll come across cards that say things like kicker, and the game doesn't do the greatest job of explaining these cards and what they actually do. Some of your lessons feel like trial and error, and I do think the game could have done a much better job specifically explaining these effects. One thing that I don't see the point of is your companion. Now you really have no control over him, and while yes, it's going to get kills and help you out at times, sometimes they just feel like they are there for the sake of being there. In fact, they are more trouble than they are worth at times, in particular with challenges that try to not to have them die. Because they'll die. A lot. Now getting 3 to 4 companions will wreck the enemies, but I guess it just never gelled with me in the overall gameplay formula. On the other hand, one of my favorite abilities of the game is the laser leash, which was just fun killing things over and over again with. Variety will eventually run out as well, especially as you work your way through the middle section of the game. While the game's procedural generation does help at times to keep things fresh, you'll see the same enemies and bosses repeated a bit too frequently for my taste at least. Unlocks help, but it still was too far in between at times, as you were looking for something to keep the enjoyment up that the start of the game had going for it. Now with that said, it's not like that happens right away. After 10 plus hours of gameplay, I was still finding new things. It was just getting less and less frequent. Unlike other games that I've given this particular slight against, Showdown is nowhere near as problematic as some of those other titles. In fact, given its price point, you get a reasonably good bang for your buck here. Now, continuing the theme of variety starting to wear over time, the voice and sound design can get very repetitive, and having characters say the same things over and over and over again will get rather annoying. At first, the little quips that the contestants have to say are rather good, such as the a cappella-like Arena Defeated. But those voice clips cycle very fast, to the point where it's just annoying to hear them over again. Again, it's systematic of the game as a whole, something that over the hours it just can't keep up. And sound design with explosions and lasers is only so-so, as they didn't really make the impact on me like I thought they should. Music, like I always say in these reviews, is very subjective. It fits the game here and it does its job. But more than me going and trying to analyze it, here's a sample of the tracks in question. Visually, the game isn't the most impressive, but the isometric view is the biggest reason for this. The environments are nicely done, and the character models have a significant amount of detail on them, but you really don't notice it with the high camera angle in the battle. Now, the color choices do make a lot of sense for being able to see everything that's going on in the battle, and it complements gameplay rather nicely. One of the game's strongest negatives, however, is in its performance. You'll really notice it when you kill the last enemy in a wave, like the game is processing a set of information and needs just a moment to deal with it. In action, there are times where the frame rate dips. Never too badly, but I did notice a good 5 to 6 frame drops every so often while playing. The game also had its share of bugs at times, where I had to restart an arena run because the game ended up getting my character stuck in the environment, even when I moved to the next arena. You've gotta be patient with this game, because it will throw a curveball at you now and again, and I definitely had to fight it at times in terms of technical precision. And while the presentation does well in terms of presenting a game show, there's really no story here. You don't know who these heroes are or what they're doing, and if you need story in your game, this game isn't going to deliver it for you. When it comes down to it, Force Showdown delivers in its addictive gameplay and challenge elements, despite not doing the greatest job of complementing it with story or presentation elements at times. It's a game that even after 15 hours, I was still enjoying. Now granted, this game is right up my alley, as games like Victor Vaughn and Torchlight 2 have been games I've sunk hours into. But from a price and delivery perspective, Force Showdown delivers with an 85 out of 100 on my scoring scale, a game that's a solid purchase unless you are hurting for money. And lucky for you, I just released a video that describes my review system in full, if you should need the description of it. And that video segues into the next part of this review, the enhancers. These are specific to the gamer who's picking up the game in question, and should add or subtract to the score based on if you strongly fall into the category that I describe. +5 if you gotta catch them all. Love unlocking all the content in games? Well, Force Showdown helps that with its quest system that gives a bunch of different challenges, like not using your basic attack in an entire full series of battles, to not letting your pet take any damage. And with a lot of cards to buy, you'll be here hours trying to get them all. Take 3 points off if you need skill variation. Action RPGs come in a couple of forms, but one thing that you need to realize with this one is that you aren't going to get the full customization in terms of skill trees and whatnot. Yeah, you've got the card deck, but in terms of the base skills, they're really unchanged. So if you don't like the Hammer Volcanic Strike, well, it's not like you can replace it. Now, while the game has flexibility in some areas, in this particular one, it does not. Take 8 points off if you need a narrative in your game. This game lacks a story, and even small storytelling elements of the characters are few and far between. You don't know who these characters are, and rarely do they show their personalities. If that's critical in your enjoyment of a game, stay away from Force Showdown. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below, but that's it for this review. I'll see you later in the week, and as always, keep on gaming. Thanks for watching. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you want more content like this. In the description below, you'll find the Steam review accompanying this vid, along with social media that you can follow me on, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook groups. And if you want to support the channel, click that Patreon on the left of the screen. And remember, keep on gaming.